The open water events are well underway now in Rio, putting the city's beaches front and center. But many athletes have already said they're skipping those events because of the trash and the sewage just under the water surface. Jamie Yuccas is covering the games for us, and she went to find out the source of all this pollution.
A waterfall of trash and sewage flows from the top of Rocinha, Rio de Janeiro's largest favela. The Brazilian government promised improvements would be made after winning its Olympic bid in 2009. But residents say nothing has ever been done to treat the water.
To host an Olympic event in Rio de Janeiro is equivalent of a father going through a difficult financial situation, decides to throw a party and invites all of his friends instead of taking care of his family.
Luis Oliveira has lived here his whole life and walked us up and down treacherous stairs and through skinny alleyways. Rivers of garbage flow around every corner. All of that dirty water from the favela ends up here. And let me tell you, even 200 feet up, you can still smell a very foul odor.
I already found many plastic bottles, rats, cats, dogs, condoms, syringes, and diapers.
Marcelo Fadias' love of surfing puts him in water that could make him sick with anything from norovirus to hepatitis, according to a study commissioned by the Associated Press. He now documents everything and uses social media to show the world that Rio's beautiful-looking beaches have a very ugly secret.
My hope is that someone or a company see what's happening and help us. Because if we depend on the government of Rio de Janeiro, we won't get any solution.
It would mean more than catching a break, because if the Olympics didn't bring change, many wonder what will.
And Jamie is joining us now from Rio. It's good to see you, Jamie.
Good to see you, Vlad. Thanks for having me.
So listen, you showed us that there are basically two Rios. What's the attitude towards the Olympics when you speak to the peoples in the favelas?
You know, I have to tell you that they're really disappointed that in 2009, when the Olympic bid came through, they were promised all kinds of change, that there would be improvements to infrastructure, that their waterways would get treatment and that type of thing, and they just have not seen that happen. So I can tell you they're very upset about it. They actually, a number of them call it the exclusion games because, you know, they can't afford to even come to these games. And when you go through the favela and you see just the living conditions and the water and how it's coming just in these rivers of trash down to the beaches. And the really horrible thing for the people who live there is that their whole culture is based on going to the beach and enjoying the natural beauty of it. And they have raw sewage coming out right where they surf. The surfers we talked to said that has not improved. It's actually gotten worse because originally there used to be a dumping point on the beach. And while that sounds really awful, it used to act as insulation and be able to kind of sift through some of that garbage, and then cleaners would be able to come up and pick up some of the trash that we talked about in the piece. And now the government moved it so that it's being dumped directly into the waterway because there were two hotels that were built there that are luxury hotels, and people would complain about the smell. So it's actually gotten worse, not better, for a number of them.
One of the things that we saw during the Olympics in China, Jamie, in Beijing, was the government moving people out of these sort of poorer, lower income areas to make way for some of these stadiums. Has that happened in these favelas as well?
Yeah, we've talked to a number of people who either knew people impacted by that or were impacted by that same type of thing that you're describing, Vlad, right here outside the Olympic Park. You know, we're standing in a number of apartment buildings, complex here that was built specifically for the Olympic Games, but that meant reshuffling and moving people out. And, you know, even in the favelas themselves, we talked to a number of people who said that because of the Olympic Games and the location of it and some of the building of good infrastructure around luxury areas, that the prices went higher in both the luxury areas and then in the poorer communities. So you've had kind of this trickle-down effect of people being displaced from neighborhoods. We talked to one young man who had lived in the same area for 34 years of his life and just recently had to move because his rent went from about $100 up to about $350 in the favela that he was living in. So it's not just specifically the buildings that were knocked down to make way for the venues and apartment complexes, but also the rents just going higher because of some of the improvements made to the luxury areas around Rio de Janeiro.
Jamie, let's talk about the games themselves. We've heard, obviously, about ticket scalping, something that's common for sports events around the world. But you found that the games are having trouble filling the seats.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch on TV, Vlad, I'm sure you've seen these sweeping shots and you can see all these empty seats in the stadium. Now, the International Olympic Committee says that they've sold about 82% of tickets, and that what you're seeing is that there's a number of sponsors who haven't showed up to fill the seats. However, a lot of people questioning that, because when you see those shots on TV and there's so many empty seats, we went down and tried to check to see if there were tickets left to a number of events. There are, and they're usually the ones that just aren't as popular, but they're only running about $12 to see something like table tennis, even some of the wrestling matches, cycling, that kind of thing, are very inexpensive. Then you get up to the games that, you know, everybody wants to see, swimming, gymnastics, that kind of thing, and it's much, much more expensive.
Jamie, let's look ahead to tonight. What are some of the big events that you're expecting to see? What are we expecting to see, I should say?
Well, we went ahead and actually did talk to scalpers and talk to the box office to see if there were tickets left to any of the big events tonight. I can tell you that U.S. basketball versus Venezuela is sold out. You can't get a ticket to that at all. The other big events happening tonight, swimming and gymnastics. There will be finals tonight. And, of course, those are hot, hot tickets. At the box office, you can get them for about $300 US. So not everything is inexpensive here, but people will tell you that is pretty comparable to some of the other games, if not a little less expensive to those types of finals in terms of the popularity of gymnastics and swimming like we're going to see tonight.
I also can't wait for synchronized swimming, Jamie. Jamie Yuccas reporting for us.
It's always my favorite.
Yeah, right? Isn't it? It's great. Just how they do it so perfectly.
Like, right, exactly.
Show us again, Jamie, how it's done.
No,
you can
just once.
You can represent
us
in the next Olympics in Tokyo. Jamie Yuccas reporting for us.
I'll work on it.
In Rio. You have 4 years, Jamie. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Vlad.